Hey, San Diego real estate friends. Thanks for dropping through. This is so dramatic. I actually got to read it like verbatim, okay? Inventory up 40.7%. Detached sales still up 6.3%.
Okay.
But inventory jumping 29.1%. And you're going to want to hear about the attached condos and townhomes. I'll bury that lead.
Speaking of townhomes and condos, I want to talk today a little bit about what to know before you buy a condo.
Ooh. All right, friends, hey, back for another round. And this is actually when it really matters, right? So if you think about the entire year as like a season of sport, right? There's like the training camp, and then there's the preseason.
Yeah.
Well, guess what, guys? It's real estate game time right now. We're in the summer throes. I want to give you the facts, but more importantly, though, tell you what all this is going to mean to you so you can make informed decisions, either buying, selling, investing, or getting some mortgages.
Yeah, exactly. And right now, same thing. Things ramp up in the real estate world. They're also ramping up in the mortgage world. So we're starting to see things tighten up a little bit there too.
Quick check. So first, the big, 500-pound gorilla in the conversation is inventory, right? So we got more inventory on the shelves, gang. Homes for sale up 40.7% from this time last year.
It's huge. That's a huge number.
But what this means to you, though, as a buyer, you finally got some choices, right? You got a little bit of breathing room. As a seller, you got more competition. So pricing and presentation, as we always say, like the things you do before the sign goes in the yard, more important now than ever before.
Yeah. And competition on all ends, including price points. And we'll talk a little bit about how to work that in too.
As you can imagine, when inventory is on the rise, what happens, of course, we get the old supply-demand deal, right?
Yeah.
What happens to prices? Well, guess what, gang? You heard it here first. For all three of you that are tuning in on a regular basis,
Hi, Mom.
Hit those notifications, hit that subscribe, make a brother feel good over here. But finally, now prices starting to drop. Now, we're only in the tenths. We're not even at a full, I think we're like 2% right now, right? We're not even at the full double digits, but we're down a little bit, right? So we came down off of that 7-figure mark. I think the median's sitting at about 919 right now.
Yeah. So one of the things to be careful when this happens is when you're in contract, if a seller is, say, fishing for a very high price, got to be aware that the appraisals are no longer just automatically 10% higher than what your neighbor did last year.
It's well said.
And so we're seeing that during the transaction, you want to be flexible, knowing you might not get all the way there with your appraisal.
And buyers too, there is a trope out there. This might be something that you've even said to use in yours in this home buying process. Let's wait, stuff's on its way down. We're going to take advantage of it. I just got done saying prices are down, but lest you think that means that it's going to be a windfall toward the buyer, prices are kind of like holding right now. That's really what that means. Are they going up 20% like we saw a couple? No. Are they going up even 10? No, but they're kind of holding right now. Where the big leverage point and the fulcrum for buyers are right now is in negotiations on terms and things like repairs, right? It's always been said, deals are made on terms, they're only corroborated by price. So yeah, you're not like overpaying for the home $50,000-$100,000, right? So that's not a bad thing. You're locking in that price. But where buyers are really getting leverage right now is in the rest of the negotiations.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm seeing that a lot on our purchase transactions as well, where you're still seeing those consistent price points, but then maybe a credit flows in here at the end or two.
Yeah. So the other thing to talk about, days on market, right? That's up now again too. So 26 days to 32 days, does that even really matter? It's a 23% increase. I think what this really means is that you don't have to make any panic offers, right? That's kind of like, there's nothing worse than feeling like you're along for the ride as a buyer. Like I think of the old train station metaphor, like you got your little primmed coat on and you got your top hat, like an old school black and white photo, and you got your little bag sitting there. And are you like stepping onto the train with comfort and ease and confidence? Or is the train doing like 30 miles an hour and you're like sprinting after to get on the thing and your hat's flying off and you're throwing your bags onto whatever cart's going to allow you and you're swinging from it and you're grabbing your wife and kids? Like, that's a metaphor for a lot of these markets we've had in the past. And so things are actually like, yeah, they're taking a little longer, but you're going through with more prudence and diligence, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, and what I'm noticing is that buyers now understand that leverage a little bit, and when it comes to the negotiations, they're willing to say, hey, I'm willing to step back. Like, there's some other properties on the market now. I know it's going to take you a little while to get this thing back into contract. Like recognizing that leverage and having that conversation. It's interesting to see. It's been a while.
Now, you heard me bury the lead about the one stat I wanted you to watch this long in the vid for. So if you can, you're a real one. Or if you have, I should say already, you're a real one. But if you explode in that inventory spike and you actually look at attached condos and townhomes in particular, the inventory actually surged up to 61%.
Yeah.
That is the biggest jump of all, and what we've seen really since we've been doing the show.
Yeah. Considering what you're talking about here, this leads perfectly into something we're experiencing on the finance side.
Okay.
So, a few years back, a rule got put into place because of the problems with the condos in Florida, right? Fallen down. And so now lenders have devised a new, I shouldn't say lenders, I should say Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have designed a new condo questionnaire that the HOA has to fill out when you're buying a condo. And if you've never been through this before, that's kind of where the bombs show up. Now, the new one, they added a bunch of stuff about financing, about whether or not you've had an inspection. And this rule that went into place a handful of years ago now requires condo complexes to have an inspection, I think at minimum every 5 years. And so if that comes up, now that's being disclosed. It's part of the conversation with the underwriter. And sometimes even more challenging, there's some things in there that don't look so great, right? Good for the buyer to know that, but maybe more challenging in the underwriting scenario because the lender's looking at this and saying, hey, you got balconies falling down. We can't lend you on this property. And this is becoming a real big challenge. And I guarantee it's contributing to that uptick in properties that are now on the market.
Well, I think we're seeing that show up more often. And of course, we're seeing this, of course, with our shared clients, boots in the ground, is not just inventory on the rise, but cancellations on the rise, right? And this is kind of rampant right now. So if you can imagine, like San Diego, we're kind of blessed here. Like it's a really high clip that if something gets into escrow, it's probably going to close.
Right.
I mean, there's a very low fallout rate here just because you got demand and, inventory, even though it's old, is still kind of requisite, right? But we're seeing a lot of these things coming online that are catching it off guard a little bit. So like you mentioned the balcony, right? So the new bill that went through, all the HOAs are hustling to get back up to standard on that, new standard on that. So a lot of HOAs are like funneling money in to try to fund these things. I mean, that stuff ain't cheap.
Right.
Then you got the insurance requirements, right?
Yep.
They just, I think, 3x'd that at the beginning of last year. They gave them a little bit of grace period, but now everybody's scrambling to catch up with that. So it's not uncommon for HOAs right now, guys, to have like 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4 price increases over like the last 24 months.
Yeah, when it comes to the HOA dues, right? Yeah. So not only that, sometimes you're going to catch yourself with a pending assessment. So you might be in contract.
The special assessments, yes.
Special assessment. Yeah. So you might be in contract and, $500 HOA, cool. And then they're like, and by the way, in February, you got to throw in 10 grand. And that's catching a lot of buyers off guard because they're not ready for that. They're already doing the down payment. They're already doing the closing costs. So it's something to consider.
And what's a buyer going to do in that scenario, if they're being represented by an agent worth their sand, is they're going to say, hey, seller, that wasn't what we had planned on, so I need you to pay for that. And the seller might be like, yeah, let's get this deal done. And they might be like, oh, I wasn't planning on that. I signed the deal on this net of that plus 12 coming in. I'm not parting with that 12. Then you have an impasse and the deal blows up.
Yep. And they got their next house to worry about, all that stuff.
Yeah. Gang, the market isn't tanking, right? If we could come up with a $10 Jeopardy word, I would say it's maybe recalibrating. I think that's probably a fair way of thinking about it. Now, what this means to you, though, is if you're a seller, sure, the game has shifted a little bit. So strategy right now is going to be more important than ever before. Let's be honest. Okay, you line up 5 people to sell your home. All 5 are going to look great, sound great. They're going to have the talk tracks dialed. They're going to feel good. Like that's the level of the game when it's played at the highest, right? So it's like you can count on that. Oh, that guy really felt good, or that girl, I feel like she's got our best interest, right? Gang, that's like got to be cooked into the mashed potatoes at this point. I think what's more important than that, and this conversations are really got to be having before you decide to hire somebody, is how many moves down the chessboard is this team or agent that you're hiring be able to see? Because as you just heard us share for the last several minutes, there's all these crocodiles in the moat now. There's all these snakes in the proverbial grass. And your ability to preempt for those in advance so there's no surprises in escrow is going to be critical. But then also being able to navigate these things as they come up dynamically so you still get to your destination on time safely. That's really what you're hiring. You're hiring somebody who's responsible for the last number that's going to come to you in the form of a check or a wire to your bank account when it's all said and done.
Yeah. And let's take those alligators in the moat, the snakes in the grass, and move them over to the money side.
Yeah.
Same thing applies. When you're meeting with someone, when you're planning your mortgage, have a little reserve in the tank. This is for a number of different reasons, right? Maybe some money is going to come up that you didn't expect. Maybe there's going to be a little tinkering you have to do. And being prepared for all those things, it's going to allow you to have a successful transaction where you're not 5 years down the road and still cursing yourself because you had to write that check you didn't expect.
Yeah, and that's why you hang out with us, right? So we got all these resources for you. We're teaming, to use the same alligator and snakes reference, with resources to help you get in front of this stuff so that when it's time for you to buy or sell, you can do so with confidence because you got that game plan, you got that team, you got that strategy. So home buyer classes every month, seller workshops every month, and all kinds of conversations to be had with yours truly. So thanks for checking in. We'll see you back here next month.
See ya.